Good morning. Welcome to the premium and public video discussion for Friday, August 20th. It is a very busy morning around here as we have a lot to talk about. As you know, we are keeping an eye on Henri and seeing how that is going to be evolving. We also have an upper level low that's starting to form, and that has led to showers, especially some heavier downpours setting up down towards the Delmarva Peninsula and southern New Jersey. This is a complicated forecast, but the good news is that if we just stay calm and not go into what we call data paralysis, where we get so many models thrown at us and so much data, let's boil it down to a simple and understandable evolution of the pattern. If you take the rules of thermodynamics and you break down the way that the atmosphere is supposed to evolve and understand the various factors that could change that forecast, then this becomes a lot easier. But if you try to follow every model that comes out and this shifted a little bit this way and this shifted a little bit that way, you're going to get yourself confused, and it's going to lead to a lot of confusion out there, a lot of what I call internet rumors of storm shifting east, west, north, south. Sometimes you get one person saying it shifted east and another person shifted west in the same discussion. So you can see how people can see data and see it based on their own biases of what they're looking for. So I'm going to give you, especially over the next 36 hours, it's going to be the most important part of this forecast in terms of the evolution of Henri and the evolution of the pattern for this whole region. So let's go with the basics first. Let's talk about the current observations. We have rain developing over the Delmarva Peninsula, pushing into southern New Jersey. We have a stationary front along the coast. Winds from the north over the interior around 5 miles per hour, and that goes down to about Long Island. Winds are from the north down the Jersey Shore, and then off the coast we have them coming off the southeast. We'll have winds start to shift more to the south as we move on through the day as this stationary front starts to drift northward. But that's producing periods of rain, and this is going to be a theme for much of this weekend, aside from Henri, this stationary front hanging around, which is a product of the upper level low that's starting to develop. Temperatures throughout the region range from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the interior, mid to upper 70s along the coast, lower 70s as you head down towards southern New Jersey because of the steady rainfall. So basically you're reaching your dew point right there. So there you go. You have plenty of rain. Now, here's the pattern overall. Okay, this is a great map from the spc.noaa.gov, totally free. Well, your tax dollars pay for it, but you get the point. We have an upper level low that's starting to form, and what this area here is what we call divergence and diffluence. Now this area, that means that the air in the upper levels are spreading out. So when you have that spreading out, kind of like taffy, that means air can rise to fill it, because the atmosphere is always looking for a balance. So you cause that stretching, the air rises to fill that stretching. So that is essentially what we're having here. And while that's happening, we have plenty of moisture, and there's Henri right here, but plenty of tropical moisture riding right up the coast, supporting the potential for heavy rainfall. And so that is leading to this scenario right here, this stationary front with waves of low pressure, and there's our rainfall heading north. This is going to be a theme for the entire weekend, outside of the tropical storm. Okay? So this is a factor that we're going to be dealing with the entire weekend, which is going to enhance the moisture transport that we're already seeing set up along the coast. So that whole setup is evolving here, and while that's taking place, with all of this deep moisture and the upper level low developing, it's also leading to the potential for a nice thermal gradient starting to shape up right along the coast. So there is Henri. There's our trough starting to take shape. Here's the upper level pattern at 850 millibars. Everything's evolving as expected. And when you take a look at the winds, these are the surface winds. There's Grace down there intensifying back into a hurricane that's going to head into Mexico. Then you see Henri here. It's starting to get its act together. Okay, it looks a little bit better organized. We actually have planes in there right now, so we'll take a look at that data coming in at 8:30. So which is just in a couple of seconds here. So we have Henri getting his stuff organized with the surface winds. You can see the influence of our Bermuda High, and there's our stationary front. Now let's take a look at 500 millibars. Okay, this is what's really important, okay? This area right here, you see this kind of weakness that sets up here? This is where the wind shear subsides, okay? And that's really important because while it's moving through this area during the next 48 hours, that is when Henri is going to have the chance to intensify into a hurricane. How strong of a hurricane will influence the entire forecast. But with this trough axis the way it is, those southwesterly winds and thus that wind shear is not that far off. So there is certainly that factor involved here. We still have a positively tilted trough. As this trough and upper level cuts off, the winds will start to back to the south and then the southeast. And when you go into that negative tilt, which sets up those southeasterly winds coming in from southeast to northwest, which is what we call a negatively tilted trough, which, let me pull up how that looks on a model here real fast. Okay, so it would look basically like that. Okay, you see that orientation? At that point, that's when it starts to go into a negative tilt. And notice, there's Henri right here starting to lift north. So when it becomes a full negative tilt, that's when Henri starts to approach New England. And that's why you get kind of that brief pullback before it disintegrates. So that's how it looks on the model guidance. So you can see the setup all here. It's all pretty much laid in. The question mark is what happens here when it moves into that period of intensification. Now, here is the latest stats from the National Hurricane Center as winds of 65 miles per hour, pressure's down to 995 millibars, pretty much staying steady. It is currently 800 miles to the south-southwest of Nantucket and about 375 miles to the south-southeast of Cape Hatteras. Those of you in Nantucket, you're going to want to pay attention to that because it looks like the storm's heading basically right towards you. It's moving now to the west-northwest, around 9 miles per hour. Now, the forecast, we'll pull up those graphics right now, from the NHC, basically takes the track that I've been talking about for quite some time now, where it basically shoots to the north-northeast, starts to get influenced by the upper level lows, swings into southern New England, and then exits out. Okay, so your primary impacts around Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, right? For Long Island and Connecticut, I really like what the National Hurricane Center did with putting out the watches. That way you're prepared, and then they scale it down as we get better idea of how compact this storm is and also the strength of the storm. So you kind of get a better idea. It's better to have the watches out expanded and then contract them in rather than trying to add them out to the west or to the east to catch up, okay? Because then you have people who have less time to prepare. So this was a great job of the National Hurricane Center by doing this like this. So that way you give your chance of being prepared in that respect. So when we take a look at the observations coming in, and let me refresh this real fast. And it's in storm right now, okay? And the center is out here. That's really important. I'll explain why in a moment. And you have all your data here, which basically shows flight level winds. Looks like it's still below hurricane strength. Your surface winds around 60 knots. It might get an update where it just touches hurricane strength. Maybe. We'll have to see if they do an update. Let's see if they did an update yet. Nope, nothing yet. So it's getting close. It's getting close to that evolution of reaching that strength. But right now, there's no indication of any type of rapid intensification or anything of that nature. So why is the location of that center really important? Well, When you take a look at the satellite picture, and let's refresh this real fast so we get the latest data, this looks pretty impressive, right? A nice outflow here. You can see the fanning out of the cirrus here, which tells us we have a nice outflow circulation. The warm core low pressure system, the whole structure looks like it's starting to mature, but the center is here, right on the northern edge. So let me pause this for a second. Why is that important? Well, that tells us we're still dealing with northeasterly shear. Okay, that shear is pushing the thunderstorms off to the south and west, and it displaces the structure of the warm core low. In warm core lows, you want everything vertically stacked. Okay, kind of like a chimney. Okay, so it takes the warm air out and in. Okay, so it's like a battery. So when it's not vertically stacked, when it's slanted, then that air doesn't rotate as well, and so the warm core low, the engine isn't as healthy. And so intensification is far more difficult because you don't have the proper structure. Okay, you want it like this. Think of it like a ballerina or an ice skater. When they get really tight and they turn and they make that really fast turning motion on the ice, right? They're vertical, right? They're vertically stacked from the feet all the way up to the head. They're very, very in line. But if that ice skater tilts or has their arm out just a little bit, they can fall. Well, this is the same type of scenario here. So it's very important, the fact that the low-level circulation's out here, the mid-level circulation's back here. So what that means is that the ability to rapidly intensify right now is hindered. When it moves into that area of weakness, okay, and that wind shear subsides this afternoon on through Sunday morning, and we watch for that intensification, how strong the storm gets will tell us the forecast. And so that's how you end up with the latest guidance here. And this just came out 12Z literally just now. These solutions out here, let's just address that right now. These solutions out here, the western ones, take this track based on the idea that the storm intensifies above what's currently forecasted. Let's say a category 3 hurricane, okay? Which means that it interacts with the upper level a little faster, which means it gets pulled in towards the coast. Right now, most of the model guidance is away from that solution, but this is still kind of sticking out here. Okay, so obviously everyone's going to focus on that, but that is the extreme outlier. Okay, but that's why we're going to be watching the storm over the next 48 hours. Most guidance, okay, and then this far eastern guidance would suggest, let's say, that Henri never intensifies, it remains a tropical storm, and just kind of peters out. That's also an extreme solution. That's not likely to happen. Then you have where most of the model guidance is, which basically takes it up towards basically Rhode Island and cuts up through southern New England. This scenario right here would introduce some very significant impacts for Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and eastern Connecticut, where the worst impacts look to be around basically Rhode Island and Massachusetts. Now, here's some good news. You notice how it slows down here? That's really important, because if the storm was rapidly moving fast, like the 1936 hurricane that slammed into Long Island, that means that it would have no time to weaken over the colder waters that are surrounding our region, and also would mean that the forward speed would enhance the winds on the east side of the storm. With this moving slow, you reduce the influence of any additional winds on the eastern side of the storm. So let's say it's only moving 8 miles per hour and you have a 75, 80 mile per hour storm. So on the eastern side, you could expect winds enhanced by about 4 or 5 miles per hour, as opposed to 30 mile per hour movement, which enhances it by about 20 miles per hour. So you can see what that enhancement can do. But with it moving slower, it's also more likely to weaken into a tropical storm, which is essentially what the forecast here is showing. Okay, it starts to weaken into a tropical storm as it's making landfall. So with that is basically the evolution that we're watching here. As you can see on the water vapor satellite picture, it's just the whole pattern's just starting to evolve. We'll start to see some influence from the trough by the time we get to this evening with it starting to pull northward. It'll move into that weakness in terms of the vertical wind shear, have a chance to intensify, and then we'll watch to see the track up towards New England. As far as impacts along the Jersey Shore, definitely a lot of them, so let's just talk about that, Jersey Shore and Long Island and Connecticut. So let's dive into this forecast now. Right now we got all this stuff broken down. So for today, our stationary front hangs around. Look for periods of showers, some heavier downpours, especially right along the coast, but don't leave your guard down over the interior. Temperatures today will range from the upper 70s to lower 80s for much of the region. Wave heights basically around 2 to 4 feet, and that's going to remain the case on through tomorrow afternoon. For tomorrow morning, look for the threat for some widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, low temperatures basically ranging from the mid to upper 60s over the interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast. High temperatures tomorrow with periods of showers and heavier downpours. There is Henri out here. Here's our stationary front. And there's all our scattered showers, cloudy skies. Not a good day for outdoor activities. Look for temperatures to range from basically the lower to mid 80s throughout the region. On Sunday, Henri lifts northward, makes landfall around southern New England, somewhere in this area right here. What we can expect is, with the stationary front hanging around here, periods of showers with plenty of tropical moisture capable of some very heavy downpours. The closer you get to the coast, the more showers you'll see and the better potential for heavier downpours. For Long Island and Connecticut, as the storm is lifting through, you're going to see periods of heavy rain, especially on the east end of Long Island and eastern Connecticut. We're looking easily over 2 inches of rain out of this, with winds over the interior of around 5 to 15 miles per hour. Along the Jersey Shore in New York City, around 10 to 20 miles per hour, backing from northeast to northwest. Over Long Island, I'm thinking 20 to 40 mile per hour winds with higher gusts. I think you'll be in that tropical storm strength area in terms of winds, and then your stronger winds are going to be off to your east towards Rhode Island and Massachusetts and around Nantucket and those areas. During this period, look for your wave heights to be enhanced with a storm surge of around 1 to 3 feet. Unfortunately, all this is happening during the period of a full moon, so you're enhancing the wave heights already. So definitely prepare for minor, maybe even some moderate coastal flooding for the entire coastline, but especially around eastern Long Island. Pardon me, I had a cough there. So that had to lift up. That will lift up on Sunday night and a Monday. And you're just going to get for the entire region a lot of showers hanging around the region. While this is happening, look for your wave heights to build to around 6 to 12 feet. And it's just going to be a stormy time period for Sunday afternoon on through Monday morning, with plenty of rainfall. Now, this is going to continue on to Monday. The storm basically collapses, but you still have the upper level low hanging around the region. So you're going to have scattered showers around the region capable of heavy downpours. Temperatures on Monday range from the upper 60s to lower 70s for lows. High temperatures in the upper 70s to lower 80s throughout the region. Then for the rest of next week is basically a week that's going to feature a tropical weather pattern with pesky troughs and cold fronts around. So each day is going to feature fog in the morning, an isolated shower or thunderstorm in the afternoon with a tropical air mass in place. Low temperatures through the period will range from the upper 60s to lower 70s over the interior, lower to mid 70s along the coast for lows. High temperatures will range from the upper 70s to lower 80s over the higher terrain, higher interior, lower to mid 80s along the coast, and mid 80s to lower 90s in the Delaware River Valley with plenty of humidity around. So that is your forecast for today. We'll keep an eye on Henri. Again, your impact times basically Sunday afternoon through early Monday morning. The worst impacts around southern New England, but those of you in Long Island and eastern Connecticut, I would say definitely prepare for basically what would essentially be a strong nor'easter for the region with some minor coastal flooding, very heavy rainfall, and some very strong winds. That is your forecast for